Well, you pointed out there that the markets are still digesting the auto tariffs and the kind of bid from this week that you started seeing from the Trump administration. The auto sector is so crucial anyway because not only has it already been struggling from kind of this overcapacity really from so many places, bringing back even potential consolidation within the industry itself, but it has so many moving parts and really reaches a global platform. We've talked about how the auto kind of consumption story in the United States is an energy story, a raw material story, but also one that has deep connections to that of Canada, Mexico, Germany, even the UK a little bit, something that Rachel Reeves had talked about and addressed in her interview round yesterday as well, not to mention, of course, the Asian automakers that you were seeing on your screen at the moment. We'll put in Stellantis there as our Italian kind of bid on the auto space as well. So this is crucial as the kind of, as you said, opening salvo. We should also mention that when he was initially threatening these auto tariffs, he talked about pharmaceutical tariffs as well. We haven't heard that piece of it yet. And pharmaceutical is, of course, also a really big piece of the European ecosystem as well, from the Scandinavians to the likes of Novo Nordisk to the likes of Sanofi over in France as well. So there are a couple of other sectors that are potentially coming down the pike. And that's going to be really crucial in terms of how you do it. I think from a market's perspective now, you are starting to think about this as, is there a tariff premium baked into the way some of these stocks or bonds for these companies are trading?
Yeah, really good point in terms of what could be happening in terms of the sector-by-sector basis. To what extent is the auto story a template if you're an investor in pharma names in Europe? And do you want to start putting in similar pricing action in expectation of a similar game plan coming through from the Trump administration? Talking of which, April the 2nd, the language around this, the signalling has shifted. Where do we stand on what to expect next week?
Well, we're wondering where what the math actually looks like here, because all we really know is that not only are reciprocal tariffs coming, but they're going to be calculated by not just barriers that are already existing from a lot of countries, including kind of protectionist measures that are pre-existing for decades, but also what Donald Trump calls non-tariff barriers as well. That looks like VAT, that looks like regulation as well. The question for a lot of investors, and I think for a lot of economists and analysts, is how do you quantify the impact of regulation? For example, tech regulation is a great one. So one of the big questions here is that if you do get an X amount of tariffs or reciprocal tariffs as it's being called on April 2nd, what levers can the UK, can the EU, can China, can India actually pull, especially right here in Europe where regulation is such a big one? Another follow-up question to that is also if the end goal of these tariffs are to ultimately bring down the regulation that American companies feel abroad, if they successfully do that, if somehow you see European regulators pull back on some of the red tape for international companies, does that mean the U.S. will do the same? Does that mean the U.S. will pull down the tariffs? And that's the signaling that we haven't gotten yet.